Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Chosen women, they don't walk like everybody else. They don't talk like everybody else. And they sure as hell don't live like everybody else. See, when God sets a woman apart, when life says, you right there, I got a calling for you, what it doesn't tell her is the loneliness that comes with that calling. The silence, the ache, the moments when you're surrounded by people but feel like a ghost in the room. Because being chosen means being misunderstood. People look at you and see strength, but they don't see the nights you cried yourself to sleep. They see the power, but not the pressure. The grace, but not the grit. And sometimes it breaks you. Yeah, I said it, it breaks you. You feel like a mosaic, shattered into pieces, trying to hold it all together with a prayer and a smile. But let me ask you this. Have you ever seen gold refined without fire? You ever see a diamond formed without heat and pressure? No, you haven't. And that's what you are. A force forged in fire. You're not broken, you're becoming. The loneliness, that's not punishment, that's preparation. God's keeping the noise out so you can hear Him clearly. Life is stripping away the distractions so you can see who you really are. You're not built for the crowd, you're built for the crown. So yeah, they don't understand your love, they don't get your depth. They're uncomfortable around your light because it exposes their shadows. That's okay. That's not your weight to carry. Keep walking. Because on the other side of that pain is purpose. On the other side of that silence is a sound only you were meant to make. And when that moment comes, when the world finally sees what God saw all along, those lonely nights, that broken heart, it'll all make sense. Stay the course. Stay strong. Stay chosen. Because what's coming for you, it's worth everything you're going through. A higher calling isn't something that fits into the mold of comfort or convention. It doesn't always announce itself with glory or applause. It often enters quietly with a whisper to the soul and a sudden shift in the path. And when that calling comes, it doesn't bring a crowd. It brings solitude. Because the road to purpose isn't a packed freeway. It's a narrow trail carved through uncertainty, discipline, and silence. Chosen women often find themselves walking alone, not because they're unworthy of love or community, but because their assignment requires clarity. And clarity doesn't come through noise. It comes through quiet, through long nights of questioning, through decisions no one else understands. That isolation isn't a punishment. It's a refining fire. It separates what's necessary from what's comfortable. It forces a woman to look in the mirror and meet herself honestly, without filters, without applause, without distraction. People begin to fall away, not because she's broken, but because they were never meant to go where she's going. The higher the calling, the fewer the companions, the more intense the purpose, the more internal the struggle. And in those quiet spaces, when it feels like no one sees, no one gets it, no one's walking with her, that's where the deeper wisdom forms. That's where the inner voice strengthens. That's where resilience is born. Some women are called to lead, to heal, to build legacies, to break chains. And leadership requires preparation that most won't understand. The isolation is the training ground, the place where strength is built in silence, where vision is sharpened through tears, and where faith is tested in the absence of validation. It's not a detour, it's the design. Some women are born with a fire in their spirit that the world can't quite place. They walk into rooms and shift the energy without saying a word. They carry vision in their bones, legacy in their DNA. They don't fit neatly into categories or boxes, and no matter how much they try to blend in, life keeps pulling them out of the crowd. That's because they're not built to fit. They're built to stand out, built for more. The crowd is often comfortable, predictable, and safe. But chosen women were never made for comfort zones. They were designed for elevation, for something greater than the ordinary. And with that comes tension. Because the minute a woman starts moving in the direction of her destiny, everything that once surrounded her starts to shift. Friends distance themselves. Opportunities get quiet. The familiar feels foreign, not because she's doing something wrong, but because she's stepping into who she really is. People may call her too much, too intense, too focused, too driven, but that's only because they can't handle the weight she was born to carry. Not everyone can walk where she walks. Not everyone can understand a dream that keeps you up at night, a pull in your soul that won't let you settle. She wasn't built to entertain. She was built to impact, to change the narrative, to raise the standard, to break cycles and rebuild futures. That kind of mission doesn't blend in. That kind of spirit doesn't follow trends. It sets them. So when she feels disconnected, when she feels like she doesn't belong, it's not rejection, it's revelation. It's life showing her that she was made for higher places, not for the crowd, not for applause, but for purpose. There's a weight that comes with being chosen that can't be seen with the eyes. It's not physical, it's spiritual. And that kind of weight doesn't show up in the form of bruises or visible wounds. It shows up in the quiet moments, the sudden heaviness in the chest, the inexplicable exhaustion, the battles no one knows you're fighting. For chosen women, spiritual warfare isn't a concept, it's a reality. A daily resistance against forces that want to dim their light, distract their mind, and derail their purpose. These battles aren't always loud. Sometimes they're as subtle as self-doubt whispering lies. Sometimes they're disguised as anxiety, confusion, or fear that creeps in just as clarity starts to form. They wake up in the morning carrying burdens they didn't ask for, interceding for family, holding space for friends, pouring into broken places while theirs remain empty. And people rarely see the toll. They see the strength, the grace, the smile, but they don't see the war being fought behind the eyes. Spiritual attacks often come when a woman is close to breakthrough. The closer she gets to destiny, the more intense the pressure. Her peace is targeted, her identity is questioned, her worth is attacked, but it's not because she's weak, it's because she's powerful. The enemy doesn't fight what isn't a threat. And when a woman is carrying light, carrying purpose, carrying healing in her hands, the resistance is inevitable. She prays through tears. She speaks life while feeling lifeless. She keeps going when everything inside her wants to stop. Because something deep within her knows this fight isn't just about her. It's about everyone attached to her obedience. Everyone who'll be freed because she refused to give in. Spiritual battles are heavy, not because she's failing, but because she's carrying something sacred. There's a different kind of silence that surrounds women of depth. It's not the absence of noise, it's the absence of being seen. Chosen women often live in this space where their thoughts, their emotions, their dreams, even their pain feel like too much for the surface level world around them. They speak from the soul, not the script. They ask questions that challenge, love with intensity, and perceive things others miss. But most people aren't ready for that kind of depth. They're used to the shallow end where things are light, easy, uncomplicated. So when a woman shows up with oceans in her spirit, she gets labeled too emotional, too sensitive, too intense. But it's not that she's too much, it's that others haven't learned how to swim where she lives. They don't understand what it means to feel everything so deeply, to analyze beyond the obvious, to carry empathy like it's oxygen. She sees meaning where others see moments. She reads between the lines. She senses energy, notices shifts, hears what isn't said. That kind of depth can feel like a burden when no one around her is built to receive it. Relationships can feel one-sided, conversations feel incomplete, people take from her soul but rarely pour back. And she starts to wonder if something's wrong with her. But the truth is, there's nothing wrong. She's just wired for more, built to connect on levels others avoid, created to explore the unseen, the unspoken, the divine layers of life. This depth was never meant to be understood by everyone. It's a gift, not a curse. But gifts like these come with silence, solitude, and long stretches of not being met where you are. And that loneliness isn't because she's broken. It's because her soul speaks a language few are fluent in. There's a rare and beautiful strength in how deeply chosen women love. They give with a fullness that surpasses expectation, loving not just with their hearts but with their souls. Their love isn't surface level. It isn't conditional. It doesn't come with limitations or expectations of reciprocation. They love fiercely, without hesitation and without holding back. But the challenge comes when the love they give isn't met in kind. For all their openness, their capacity to care for others, to nurture, to uplift, they often find themselves in relationships where their love is not fully received. They pour themselves into the people around them, family, friends, partners, with a depth that goes unnoticed or underappreciated. The love they give is pure, unguarded, and unconditional, but it's rarely returned with the same intensity or purity. People can take it, lean on it, even lean into it for comfort, but often they don't know how to give back in a way that matches what was offered. The deep love these women give often leaves them feeling exhausted, unfulfilled, and at times invisible. The more they give, the more they find themselves giving alone, without the same commitment to reciprocate. They love deeply because they believe in the transformative power of love, the kind that changes people, heals wounds, and creates connection. But too often, they end up alone in their giving, wondering why their hearts are left hanging while they continue to pour out into others with no one to pour back into them. This deep love isn't a weakness, it's a gift, but it can be a heavy one, especially when it's met with indifference or misunderstanding. They continue to love, not because it's easy, but because they know the power of love, even if others don't know how to meet it. There's a quiet, often unspoken resilience in women who carry the weight of the world on their shoulders while silently carrying their own pain. Chosen women are natural healers. They have a way of making others feel seen, heard, and loved when the world can be cold and indifferent. They pour into those around them, lifting others up, giving advice, comforting hearts, and offering wisdom even when they themselves are struggling. They can be the light for everyone else, even when their own light is dimmed by their own wounds. But in the midst of all that giving, they often forget to stop and tend to their own bleeding. They offer their hearts to everyone, but rarely get the chance to rest and heal their own. They put the needs of others above their own, mending broken spirits while their own soul is quietly fraying at the edges. It's a silent sacrifice, one that doesn't ask for recognition or reward. They are the ones who comfort, who listen, who heal, even when they have no energy left to heal themselves. In their efforts to fix the world around them, they often neglect to acknowledge the deep hurt they carry. They wear their wounds like an invisible armor, thinking that because they can carry the weight of others, they should carry it all. They don't cry out for help. They don't demand care. Instead, they keep going, often ignoring their own needs for the sake of everyone else's. They wear a smile that hides the scars, always strong for others, even when their own strength is running low. Their healing hands are a blessing to others, but often the same hands are in need of healing too. Purpose can be both a gift and a burden. It's something that calls to you, demands your attention, and lights a fire within you that can't be ignored. But the more you step into it, the more you realize that the higher your purpose, the heavier the responsibility. It's not just a calling, it's a relentless pull, an inner knowing that you were made for something greater than the mundane. And while that can be exhilarating, it can also feel suffocating. When you know you're meant to lead, to create, to heal, or to break cycles, the pressure is always present. The weight of knowing you have to fulfill that purpose can sometimes feel like a prison. It's not a cage of chains, but rather one of expectation. The higher your calling, the fewer the people who can walk with you, the fewer the people who truly understand. It isolates you in ways you didn't expect. The more you rise, the more you feel disconnected from the world you once knew, and it becomes a battle between what you want and what you're meant to do. At times, the freedom that others experience can seem like a luxury. They don't have to wake up every day with the weight of a mission pressing down on their shoulders. But for you, every moment is a decision. Every step feels like it's shaping a destiny that cannot be ignored. You can't walk away from it, even when you feel trapped. Purpose has no off switch. It doesn't give you breaks, and while it can be empowering, it can also feel confining, especially when your heart longs for simplicity and peace, but your mind knows you are called to more. Being different isn't always easy. For chosen women, being different can often feel like a constant battle, not just with the world around them, but with themselves. They carry a uniqueness that sets them apart, whether in the way they think, the way they love, or the path they walk. And that difference, as much as it's a gift, often brings rejection. People fear what they don't understand, and when someone shows up with a spirit that can't be easily categorized, the world reacts with resistance. They aren't like everyone else, and that's often why they're pushed aside. The very qualities that make them special, their strength, their intensity, their vision, can make others uncomfortable. It's like being a light in a dark room. While some are drawn to the warmth and brilliance, others try to block it out because it challenges the darkness they've grown comfortable in. Chosen women walk a different rhythm, one that doesn't sync up with the pace of the crowd. This difference often means that they are left standing alone, watching others find comfort in conformity while they continue to blaze a path that feels isolating. Rejection becomes a regular companion, not because they are lacking in some way, but because their authenticity doesn't always fit neatly into societal molds. The rejection isn't about who they are, it's about the discomfort their difference causes in others. They're seen as too much, too intense, too out of reach, and that makes them a target for exclusion. But the truth is that rejection is a reflection of others' limitations, not the worth of the woman who's being rejected. Being different isn't a flaw, it's the price of being rare, of being the kind of person who changes things, who doesn't blend into the background, who stands out because she was meant to. Chosen women often find themselves walking a path that others simply cannot comprehend. Their intentions, their words, their actions can be easily misinterpreted because the depth of their spirit is beyond the reach of most. People see their strength and think it's unshakable, but they don't see the tenderness behind that strength. They see confidence and assume arrogance, kindness and assume weakness. And when a woman's heart is pure, but her purpose is bigger than the moment, the world doesn't always know what to do with her. The problem isn't that they're doing something wrong, it's that their energy doesn't fit into the ordinary spaces around them. Their wisdom, their drive, their fierce loyalty, they are things that set them apart. But too often that difference causes others to misunderstand their actions. They may be quiet, reflective, and seen as aloof, but it's not that they don't care. It's that they're protecting their energy, listening to a voice deeper than the noise of everyday life. When they speak, it's with intention, but those around them often hear what they expect rather than what is being said. And sometimes their silence is mistaken for indifference, when in truth it's simply the weight of their thoughts that keeps them from speaking. People judge based on the surface. They see a woman who carries herself with grace and assume she doesn't struggle. They see her perseverance and think she has no doubts. They don't understand the battles she's fighting, the questions that swirl in her mind, or the deep, unshakable faith she holds despite the challenges. On her, they see her strength, but not the vulnerability that lies beneath it. And in that misunderstanding, she's often judged wrongly. It's not about her being misunderstood. It's about the fact that people only see the surface, never the depth. And in that, they miss who she truly is. The strength of chosen women is not simply about physical power. It's about an inner resilience that radiates from the core of who they are. It's an unwavering sense of purpose, a fierce determination, and a heart that refuses to break no matter the weight it carries. But that kind of strength is not always welcomed. It can be threatening to those who are not yet strong enough to recognize it. It's not that their strength is a burden, but that it exposes the weakness in others who aren't yet willing to confront their own insecurities. For many, the presence of a powerful woman brings discomfort. Her unshakable confidence, her ability to stand firm in the face of adversity, her refusal to accept mediocrity or settle for less, these qualities can make others feel small. It's not that she's doing anything wrong, it's that her very being forces people to look at themselves and ask why they're not striving for more, why they're not pushing through their own limitations, why they're afraid to step into their own power. And for those who aren't ready to face those questions, it becomes easier to be intimidated by her than to rise to meet her energy. Her strength can make the weak feel exposed. When someone is unwilling to face their own truths, The sight of another person doing so with grace can shine a light on their own lack of courage. It's easier to criticize or put down a woman with strength than to confront the discomfort it stirs up. But that doesn't diminish her power. It simply reveals the limitations in others who aren't yet ready to embrace their own potential. The stronger she becomes, the more she forces the world to recognize what they are capable of. And for those who are not yet willing to face that challenge, it's easier to shy away than to stand alongside her. Chosen women often carry the weight of their lineage on their shoulders, though few truly realize the depth of what that means. It's not just about their personal dreams or desires. It's about breaking cycles, healing wounds, and fulfilling a purpose that reaches beyond their own lives. They are not just living for today. They are carrying the hopes, struggles, and unfulfilled promises of generations that came before them. They are the ones tasked with rewriting the stories of their ancestors, transforming the patterns that held their families in place for too long. Every step they take forward is not just for themselves. It's for the generations that came before and the ones yet to come. The strength required to carry these generational breakthroughs is immense. It means confronting the pain and trauma passed down through bloodlines, unearthing it, and choosing to heal what has been buried for years, if not centuries. It means breaking the chains of limiting beliefs, financial struggles, unhealthy relationships, or cycles of silence. These women walk a tightrope between honoring the past and forging their own path. And while this is a blessing, it's also a heavy burden. They feel the weight of not just their personal dreams, but the responsibility of fulfilling a destiny that their families were unable to reach. Each decision, each action, each breakthrough has the power to shift the future for those who will follow in their footsteps. They carry the hope of lifting their families out of the shadows of past struggles and creating new possibilities for those who may never even realize the price that was paid. It's a constant balancing act between honoring where they've come from and being bold enough to create something entirely new. Chosen women are not ones to settle. They are driven by a vision that burns in their hearts, a purpose that cannot be ignored, and a sense of self that demands more than what is often offered. They have a deep knowing that they are meant for greatness, and because of that, they never settle for less than what aligns with their truth, their dreams, and their values. This unwavering commitment to their higher calling can sometimes set them apart, even leave them standing alone. In a world where convenience, comfort, and compromise often lead the way, the refusal to settle is seen as unusual, even uncomfortable. It challenges the status quo, disrupts the comfort zones, and creates a distance between those who are content with mediocrity and those who are driven to rise above it. While others may settle for relationships that drain them, careers that limit them, or lives that feel uninspired, the chosen woman stands firm in her belief that she deserves more. She is not willing to compromise her worth for the sake of fitting in or avoiding conflict. This can lead to loneliness. The higher she climbs, the fewer the people who can walk with her. Her standards, her integrity, and her vision often isolate her from the crowd because not everyone is ready to rise with her. People may call her too picky, too demanding, too much. But they fail to understand that her refusal to settle is not a sign of pride. It's a sign of strength, of self-respect, and of faith in what's possible. While it may seem like she's standing alone, in reality, she's simply walking a path that few are bold enough to take, trusting that the right people, opportunities, and blessings will align with her on the journey. Loneliness is often seen as a curse, a painful experience that people avoid at all costs. But for chosen women, loneliness is not a punishment. It's a sacred space for growth, a training ground that sharpens their inner strength and deepens their understanding of self. In solitude, they are forced to confront their fears, their doubts, and their desires in ways that the distractions of the world can never provide. It's in these moments of isolation that they begin to connect with their true essence, their purpose, and the power that lies dormant within them. Loneliness teaches them resilience. It challenges them to rely on their own strength, to trust their instincts, and to stand firm even when the world feels empty. In those quiet moments, they learn that they are enough, that their worth isn't dependent on external validation or the presence of others. They discover that the most important relationship they will ever have is with themselves, and in nurturing that relationship, They become more aligned with their higher purpose. The isolation forces them to dig deeper. It's in these spaces of quiet that their creativity flourishes. Their ideas become clearer and their vision sharpens. They learn to trust the process, to understand that growth often requires periods of solitude where they can recalibrate, reflect, and refocus. They learn that true strength isn't about being surrounded by others. It's about finding peace and power in your own company. While loneliness can feel uncomfortable, it's often the very thing that prepares them for the journey ahead. It builds character, fosters self-awareness, and strengthens their resolve. In the absence of external noise, they hear the whisper of their purpose more clearly. And when the time comes for them to step back into the world, they do so with a deeper understanding of who they are and what they are truly capable of. The process of being refined for greatness is never easy. It's not about immediate comfort, but about being shaped, tested, and molded through fire. Chosen women, those destined for something extraordinary, often find themselves in situations that feel harsh, unforgiving, or even discouraging. These are the moments that force them to shed their old skin, to release what no longer serves them, and to emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with their true purpose. It's the intense, often painful process of being forged in the fire that prepares them for the heights they're meant to reach. Refinement is a necessary part of their journey. It's the hardship that sharpens their vision, the struggle that deepens their character. Every challenge they face, every setback they endure, is a piece of the process that's molding them into the person they need to become in order to fulfill their destiny. The weight they carry now is the very weight that will equip them to carry the greatness they are destined for in the future. Refinement isn't about perfection, it's about growth. It's about being stretched beyond what feels comfortable, enduring moments where the path forward is unclear, and yet continuing to push forward, trusting that the purpose driving them is greater than the obstacles in front of them. The pain they experience today is nothing compared to the strength, resilience, and wisdom they'll possess tomorrow. They may feel broken at times, but it's only in those broken places that their true power is revealed. The fire may burn, but it refines, purifies, and strengthens them for what's ahead. In the end, they are not just being tested, they are being prepared for greatness, for a life that will impact the world in ways that can only be understood when they finally stand in the fullness of who they were always meant to be.